Masters of the Hustle. And this is your host, J Dub Moneymaker. And welcome to episode 85, guys. Man, first off, I want to say thank you for all the love, all the support, everyone that reaches out to me every week and truly lets me know how this podcast brings you and your company to that next level. And for all my new listeners out there, this episode 85, there's a lot of episodes to catch up on. So make sure you subscribe and smash that button. And also make sure that you tell all your friends in the HVAC industry, because like I said, this is bringing thousands and thousands and thousands of people to the next level. And man, am I excited about this episode today. So let's give it up for our gentleman in the hot seat, my cousin, my best friend, David Pearson. How you doing, Flava Dave?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it
How you
going?
doing, man? So let me go ahead and welcome you to the podcast. If you guys listen to episode 1 of HVAC Masters of the Hustle, Flava Dave, what did we call you back then, Flava?
The Iceman.
The Iceman, man. He's knocking them dead. So, welcome back to the podcast. This is my cousin. I got him into the HVAC industry. He's been kicking ass for the last 5-6 years, just dominating.
Yeah. I'm so grateful that you got me the opportunity. And, I really took it and ran with it. And, I'm so grateful because I didn't think it was for me at first. I stuck with it and I'm
What did I
where I'm
tell you?
at today.
What was the game plan with you?
You told me, you said, if I get you starting in the business from the bottom, I will get you as a comfort advisor within 2 to 3 years tops. And it played
Did I
out. I
deliver?
mean, exactly like you played. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better for me, and I took the right opportunities at the right times, and hey, no complaints here.
Yeah, no complaints, right? And then also Dave is my behind the guys. So as you guys see this podcast been progressing and everything over the last year and a half, this is the behind the guy or the behind the scenes guy, right? So
Yeah.
he's the one that put that fire under my ass so I could deliver this content to you guys. Because as you guys hear on my podcast, I'm an introvert, right? This guy gets me outside of the box every single time, gets me outside that comfort zone, gets me on stage, makes me talk in front of hundreds and thousands of different people, as well as deliver a podcast every single week to you guys.
And it makes me proud because I know how you are. We grew up as best friends. We were each other's best mans in our weddings.
Yeah.
Which,
You
just
just
recently.
got
Thank you
married.
for that.
Congratulations. Like a month ago.
Yeah. And just the way everything works and I mean, like you told me about the podcast and how you wanted to start it, and I remember I was just struck. I was like, "Man, that's a genius idea. Like, you're going to go somewhere with this." And you really delivered. You're committed to your podcast, you're committed to your guests. I told you one of the most important things is never letting your guests down and not missing a
Stay
week.
consistent. That's
Yep.
exactly what you said. So for my listeners, I preach about consistency, right? And this is one thing my cousin told me when I started this podcast was no matter what you do, you're delivering content to a group of people that want to better themselves. So do not miss a week. Once you commit to this, you're all in, and every week you deliver a message, right? And that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half. We're 85 episodes in, and I have not missed 1 week.
Yeah,
And
and
no, go ahead.
it's sorry to interrupt, but it's super important to realize that because you may be a part of someone's daily routine. It may be their weekly routine to wake up on Monday morning, put on HVAC Masters of the Hustle as they're driving in for morning meeting or their first call of the day. Maybe it gets them going as they're showering, getting ready Monday morning. Who knows? Everyone has a different way they listen to it. So I'm just saying, that week that they may need some extra encouragement or extra drive or motivation, and you're not there, it's really gonna hurt some people, so you've been consistent with it and you've taken care of a business when it comes to that, and And truly, like, you're running off with this podcast. I can't tell you how, like, proud of you I am for all the progression that you've made, and, where you're at now in the industry. We never even thought it was kinda gonna go that way. We thought we were gonna be, doing some podcasting, some speaking events, and, try
Yeah,
to
I
go
never
from
thought it was
there.
gonna turn to the training where now I have my own company, right? Traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast and booked out over a year, doing
Well,
3 a month.
the most important thing about that is you're your own boss. You create your own income, and that makes you more proud to work and proud to do things. So that's the most important thing to me. Like, you making your own money is one thing. Like, when you're working for someone else, like, it's all right, but you're there for that check.
Well, it's the
And
American dream.
when you're making your own money, like, you're seeing bank accounts build, and you're being able to invest back into yourself and your business and your clients, and trying to make things better, and invest in better studio equipment, and different things that you've done along the way. And there's a sense of pride that comes with that. And it most people never get to experience that as an American, or even as anybody, because they never either take that bold step in doing what you do, or they just don't know how to get there.
Mhm.
And yours kind of developed naturally, and that's what's the best thing about it, and the coolest thing about it is it was such a natural thing that happened, and the way it worked out and where you're at today, it really is a cool story.
No, absolutely. So, Dave, talking about a little bit, if people, maybe my new listeners that didn't listen to episode 1, can you kind of tell them or just start your story about how you got into the HVAC and, where you started as an installer and how long it took you from a helper to a lead?
Yeah, yeah. And so I did a little bit of, like, helping out with HVAC work and helping guys on installs back here, maybe a handful of times, 4 or 5 times, nothing real serious. People needed an extra set of hands or extra person to help lift. And I really didn't learn anything. I helped a couple service guys do some service work and repairs and things like that, but I didn't really know anything about HVAC. And I was working for a company, and it was shortly after our grandpa died. And they were trying to give me grief about taking time off for his funeral. And I just got fed up, and I was like, I'm not going to take this for the amount of money I'm making right now. It was decent. It was like 16 bucks an hour, 5 minutes from my house, real easy job. But I wasn't going to take that. And so I called you. I said, hey, can you get me an interview this week? And you said, let me make a phone call, call you right back. You called somebody. You said, "Hey, how does Wednesday sound?" Wednesday happened to be my day off, so I was like, "Perfect, let's do it." So, Wednesday came around. I did the interview. They offered me a job making $1 less an hour, and I had to drive an hour to work.
About an
So,
hour and a half to work.
yeah, sometimes, and traffic home. Sometimes that was real rough too.
Mhm.
And I decided to take it because I knew it was a good opportunity for me, and I knew there was growth from there. And you promised me, like I said, we'll get you to a comfort advisor role. We'll get you in the sales department within a couple years. I was like, all right, I
Mhm.
could do this.
But see, I wanted you to start from just like how I started, right?
Mhm.
Warehouse, I indoor air quality guy, but you are an install helper. So, I mean, you're gonna learn today, boy. I'll tell you that because that's
Oh
some hard
yeah.
work.
My first job I went on, we were on that job for like 16 hours. It sucked.
16 hours. What was
Yeah.
it? Do you remember what it was?
Yep. It was a conversion from I think a heat pump to a gas system in an upstairs closet. We had to extend a gas line and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And uh,
So, what
I
was going through your mind on your first install job, being out on a job for 16? I mean, that's a long time.
I hated it. I after the first day,
You
so we
said,
got back to
"What
the
did
shop at
you get me
nine
into?"
o'clock.
9
We
o'clock.
Yeah, I woke up at 4 o'clock that day. I drove all the way to work. I got there at like 5:15. I waited till 6 o'clock to start, got all my stuff together, got some tools and some things, and we didn't get back to the shop till 9:30. and I was like, "This was the longest day of my life."
And you
I
had an
made
hour and a half drive home.
Yeah, and so I didn't get home till, like, 10 o'clock, 10:30, whatever. It was crazy. I never wanted to keep doing this, but I stuck with it. I stuck it out. We had some days that were better than others, and, I'm pretty mechanically inclined, so the work wasn't too bad, but then, first thing, you're going into attics. It's itchy. You got that insulation,
Well, it's
and
not
then
itchy, it's hot too. I mean, in
yeah,
California, I mean, we get, 105, 110 in summertime in Northern
yeah.
California, and it's about 160, 170 in that attic.
And
So,
believe it or not, my first day on the job was July 1st, so
July 1st,
yeah,
midsummer, baby.
yep. Best time to start at a heating and air company is at the worst time, at
So
least you
so
get it out of the way.
so as you're progressing as an install helper, what was next for you, Dave?
So, I really took off, and believe it or not, this is the weirdest thing how I really progressed is I got the right tools. Like, at first, I didn't really know what tools to get, and I didn't really have the money to buy all these tools, all these fancy drills and things like that. I had a hand-me-down drill, hand-me-down set of tools from my dad. And, I remember somebody called me up, and they offered me, a bunch of old tools that they had in their basement, and they were all heating and air tools. So I was like, "Alright, I'll take them." Took them to work, and all of a sudden, I'm able to do the job a lot easier. I'm able to, just get things done, and I look really good doing it because I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to jimmy rig things.
So what you're trying to say is invest in tools.
Yeah, that's important,
Make the
especially
job
as an
easier.
installer or as a service tech. I mean, you have to have the right tools. If you don't have the right tools, you're wasting so much time and energy, like, playing around with things and trying to, whatever you
So
do
so
out
let me
there.
ask you a question. Do you think it's a great idea for the company? Because what you're saying, if you don't have the right tools, you're gonna be wasting time, right? That's labor, material cost, everything like
Absolutely.
that. So let me ask you a question. Do you think it is a good idea for a company to have a tool account for their employees?
Um, yes and no. There's some guys that do take advantage of things like that. Um, I think if you can implement a way to where you can take care of your guys on tools. The current guy I work for, he, like, as far as his lead installers and things like that, if they buy a set of tools and they wear it out working all the time, like if they buy snips, he'll replace their snips for them. So, I mean, I think things like that are cool. It's costing you money, but at the same time, your guys see how you're taking care of them, so it's very valuable to them. So, I mean, you can take it or leave it like that. I've seen guys take advantage of the tool thing, and they grind up all these tools and then quit the company, and they're just like, "All right, I'm out." Like, so,
Deuces.
I've seen companies screw up and not track the tools, and guys are getting free tools and expensive ones at that, free gauges and torches and things like that, and no harm, no foul. Like, the company's just unaware, they're not paying attention, they're not tracking things correctly, or the warehouse guy is just not following a procedure, and it's
Well, and
sad
that's
on all
talking
those
about
parts.
And that's talking about the importance of implementing processes and procedures and everything like that. And, I'm sure my listeners have been watching me on social media and all my training I've been doing and everything like that. And, that's one thing that we do while I'm on site. We go through processes and procedures and I help implement things. So you guys have a great structure as well for my business owners that are listening to this. If you guys are having any type of struggles with implementing processes or procedures or having your employees actually do what you're asking them to do, right? I'm that guy that's going to go into the trenches. I'm going to show them what I practice, what I, preach gets delivered. So it's a great
Yeah.
tool to have me in your company. I'll tell you that.
Well, and did you set up a process and procedure as even from the start when you were a warehouse manager?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. See
you
the thing,
remember
the
you had your staging areas and things like that?
Oh yeah. So when I was the warehouse manager, I talk about passing that baton off. And the thing about it is you got to set your installation team up for success as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to have stages bay one, bay two, bay three, right? And have whoever the warehouse manager or the parts guy has to have all their stuff set up for them. So all they have to do when they get there is just pull up, get in the truck, and then take off, right? Looks like we lost Dave. Just one moment. So, anyways, yeah, we always have to take care of our installation team every single time. And, as you guys see me going out here and training and everything like that, what I'm really focusing on is mindset, right? Because the worst thing that we can do is get in our own mindset. So I want to make sure that our mindset always stays positive. We always stay focused, and we always deliver the best that we can deliver. Right, Dave?
Yeah, yeah. It's important. You always want to do your best. Like I remember even, going through the install process and everything like that. What got me to that next level is the way I perform. Like I wanted to be there. I showed up early. I showed up on time. Like, dude, I worked at the bottom. I saw how the installers would come in hungover, 35, 45 minutes late, like shit like that. And that just wasn't my style. I wanted to keep growing. I didn't want to continue to be an installer. So I showed up
Yeah,
early. I showed up on time. I showed up with a clean uniform, shirt tucked in. We'd clean our truck before we'd get back into the shop and things like that that just made the difference to get to that next level.
yeah.
Like if you don't show any pride and you show up late every day you know, and if you're a
Well,
tech or an installer.
I want to use this for an example real quick because I mean, when you are an installer, I mean, you talk about someone that looks professional and you go to these companies and they have the dummy mannequin, right? Dressed up. I mean, you talk about my cousin Dave. This guy was top-notch professional, shirt always tucked in, belt, gig line straight, had his boots nice and clean every single time, no pookie on him. He had knee things, what do they
Knee
call
pads,
knee
yeah.
pads on so he doesn't mess up his knees. I mean, you
I
talk
had my
about someone,
headlight,
your headlight. So I mean, coming across, as a professional to the homeowner is something that the installation team has to do as well, and something that you took a lot of pride in.
Yeah, well, because I talk to people like you, the comfort advisors, and guys like Kyle Crates, a really good comfort advisor in the industry, and you guys were training guys like Adam and Kevin and guys like that, and I would talk to you guys on the side, and you all would tell me like, hey, we sell you. I remember Kevin called me one time and he's like, dude, I don't sell anything but you. Like I tell him how great you are and how
Mhm,
wonderful you're going to take care of them and communicate with them. And dude, I just want to tell you, I appreciate it because you absolutely deliver every single time.
mhm.
Like,
And as an install, how did that feel to get that call from a Kyle Crates or a Jason Walker or a Adam Rainey?
well, I just understood your guys's view on things a little bit better than the other installers sometimes would. The other guys would look more at a personal thing and maybe say, "Oh, he sold his job. He hates me," or things like that. And I'm like, "No, you have to do what you have to do. Every install matters, and somebody's going to be able to do that install eventually. So you can't
Yeah,
take things personally. You can't, you got to deliver the same message every time, and you got to be consistent with that message. You can't stray
absolutely.
from your process as an installer. Right off the bat, you got to, identify if you're collecting, if you're getting paperwork signed, whatever the procedure on
Yeah,
that is.
let's stop real quick because I want, for my installers that are listening right now, or maybe my install managers that are listening to this, and maybe they don't have a walkthrough process, Dave, because you are very good at your walkthrough process. As an installer going to a house and you're about to do the change out, what is your process to make sure that before you do the tear out, everything promised gets delivered?
Yeah, and so, a lot of things are similar to how comfort advisors do things. When you park, you go to the door, everyone looks presentable, shirts tucked in, truck looks clean. There's not, fast food wrappers on the dashboard or, anything like that. Not Gatorade bottles,
Mhm.
falling out of the truck or anything when you get out. You go to the house, you make sure your shirt's tucked in, your jacket, if you're wearing it, is nice and clean, your hat's straight, you're not wearing it backwards or anything like that. Just because you look kind of sloppy, it has nothing to do, like, eventually, if you're in the install working in the attic, you turn it around, that's all good. But going to the door, people are judging you right off the bat. They know what kind of
right off the
install they're going
bat.
to get. They
And
judge
that's
the install off of that.
yep, absolutely.
S-
And that's what I tell people when I go to these trainings, right? The second the homeowner answers the door, you have 5 seconds before they prejudge you. So what are you going to do to eliminate that, right? And start breaking down the wall so they could trust you that you're going to deliver that type of install. So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so it's important to look presentable because the client is going to get a representation of the company and how their install is going to go. So if you get a guy that shows up with, dirty pants, dirty shirt, untucked, pookie all over his boots and pants, they're going to think that's what their install is going to look like at the end. So
Mhm.
it's very important that the installers know the standard that you hold your
Very.
company to, and we had a good company that we were working for where the uniform, they were supported where, hey, you need all new shirts, we'll get you all new shirts, we want them clean. Like, so if
Mhm.
you destroyed a shirt, it happens. We understand what you do, but we want a clean shirt on every single day.
And that's having a good uniform company that
Yeah.
does dry cleanings and things like that. For my business owners that are listening, if you guys don't have uniforms and you guys are getting them dry cleaned and the pookie pants all switched out, you got to think about the delivery of what you're trying to deliver to your client at the end of the day,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
how I feel about it, right?
Yeah.
If you guys want to look like a premier company and you guys do premier work, then you got to look like it,
Yeah.
right? What's your logo? What's your truck wraps?
Yeah.
I had Dan Antonelli on last week and he was talking about the importance of, hey, you might deliver quality work, but if you don't look like a quality company, they're not going to call you.
Or the worst thing, like I see a lot of businesses, especially in my area, and they got like an old logo, on a truck and new shirts on, and it doesn't match up, or not even a logoed van or things like that. And it's like, wow, I can't believe you guys are in business, it's
Yeah.
it's crazy to me. But along with my install process, I always, it was important on the drive there, I always made my helpers drive, so I could review the paperwork and review the notes and review every single little bit of that job, and every picture I dissect, and just like I was the comfort advisor selling it, I'd break it down. And why did they do this? Oh, they did this because of this. Okay, that makes
Hmm.
sense. And so I had a really good concept and understanding of the job by the time I went there. So I'd arrive to the door, I'd pull that paperwork out and go off of what you talked about as a comfort advisor, or what whoever talked about.
Hmm.
And because that's the verbiage, and that's what they discuss with the comfort advisor. So it's important that I don't astray from that and say, hey, yeah, I'm going to install a Wi-Fi thermostat, when you said I'm going to install a Nest thermostat.
Hmm.
So I got to clarify things and set the expectation at the door. Let them know, hey, I'm going to be doing this, is it all right where I'm parked? Hey, we're going to be unloading equipment and putting it out front, would you like us to place it over here? Different things. Set the
The
expectation and set
small
the
stuff
standard.
goes so far.
Exactly. And then, so then you walk the job, you put on your shoe covers, you introduce the install team. Hi, I'm the lead installer, Dave. I'm gonna be working with my apprentice or my helper, this, that, and the other. You introduce everybody. You say, hey, we're gonna walk through exactly what's going on. You go off of the paperwork. You dissect every little part of the job. You say, hey, if you see something, you don't just point it out and say, hey, we're not going to be able to do that,
Hmm.
especially as an installer, because that's going to raise red flags, and it's really going to upset somebody. So you look at it, you assess it. Once you get into the job, you start assessing things and seeing if it's possible. Right away, if you realize it's not, then you start bringing it up to people and addressing it from there.
And when you say people, you mean the comfort advisor or the install
Yeah,
manager.
yeah.
You
Call
you
call
don't
your
bring it up to the homeowner.
No, you want your comfort advisor to communicate it, because they communicate it best with the homeowner. And so you don't want to raise any red flags or make them lose faith in your install process. It's very important that they keep the faith in the job that you're doing, because at the end of the day, you're there to do a quality job. You're not there to, blow and go. You want them to have a working, successful
Blow and go.
system. Sorry for the verbiage for the younger fans out there.
No, you're
But
good.
but
So
it's just important that you set the expectation and you follow to that expectation.
no, absolutely. And I agree with you. Before you do that initial tear out and everything like that, you have to make sure that the homeowner is on the same page, that everything that I promise gets delivered. And one thing that I go to, you could ask my installers, everything like that. One thing I do and that I do religiously is go to my installs, right? You have to go to your installs to build rapport with your install team, right? Know
Yeah,
who these guys are, because at the end of the day, man, their job is hard, extremely frustrated, right? And when installers look at us as comfort advisors, I'm sure you had this same mindset before you were a comfort advisor, was these guys make all the money, all they do is sit at the table, they eat breakfast and drink coffee and just go
driving
do a
around in
little
their
bit of
air conditioned
paperwork,
car.
drive around in their AC car, and they get paid hundreds and thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah,
It's everyone's mindset when they're an installer, right? But when you guys do the little things and you set these guys up for success, right? And you go to your installs and you show them that you truly care about that client, you care about the install, and you care about them,
yeah.
right? So you got to bring these guys lunch. You got to take care of them. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're making $1,000 plus off of a job, you could fork out $100 for lunch for your guys,
Oh,
you know?
yeah, and
And
most of
if
the time, it's not even that much.
no, I know, I'm just throwing it out. I mean,
Yeah,
if you have 3 installs per day, it's $100 a day.
yeah,
But
but
when you're selling that much, you're getting paid more too. So take care of you guys.
I even a nice gesture like a Gatorade or drinks, energy drinks or coffees or donuts or anything like that, any kind of nice gesture. So, you don't have to go out and get them, a steak dinner or anything like that, but it's nice.
Be
Or
nice.
one thing that I like to do is if I get gift cards, I save up a lot of gift cards. Sometimes I'll occasionally just grab like a
Dispatch.
$20 Starbucks and just, give it to one of my installers or dispatchers or just somebody around the office just to cheer them up.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
little gestures like that, is a good idea to build a good relationship with your install team, thanking them after you're done, for a good job. Hey, Miss Jones called me. She said you did a great job. I just want to tell you I appreciate your work. I appreciate you taking care of Miss Jones just like I did. So, I
Absolutely. I
mean,
mean, that goes a long ways, those type of gestures.
yeah,
And Dave, now going in from being an installer helper, you went into a lead install position within like 8 months because you're a fast learner. Like you said,
yeah.
you're very mechanically inclined. You're a very good communicator, right? And
Mhm.
that's something that I've always known from the get go. Cause I mean, we've known each other for 33 years, right? So with that being said, I knew that when you got promoted to a comfort advisor position and I was able to train you and you didn't have any bad habits, you didn't come from another company, right? I
Mhm.
mean, I knew that your success was going to skyrocket. So now let's talk about you being a comfort advisor. You've been a
Yeah.
comfort advisor for what, 4 years now?
Yeah, it's been a while now. I think it's going on 5 years, but, it's different. It's a different kind of stress level. It's a different kind of mentality. It helps you understand the full picture a little bit better. And, by the whole picture, I mean how the company operates and why they do the things they do. It makes a little bit more sense to you when you're a comfort advisor. And and things like taking care of the installers and making sure your techs you're communicating with them, those are important, especially, and you start to see the value in those as a comfort advisor, or at least you should. If you
Mhm.
don't, then I question how much time you're spending in the office or how much time you're spending with your team. But rapport, things like that are things that you learn are important. And there were times when you and I were working together that we'd walk into the office and maybe there were things going on or personal things with people, and you could definitely feel that, like, when you walked into that office. So what you want to do as a business owner, or as even a sales manager, or someone in a leadership role in that company, is you want to make sure that everyone's attitude, everyone's rapport is always at high spirits. You want to keep everyone in a good atmosphere, keep, put things around the office like a basketball hoop, and things that they could do on their lunch to burn energy. Or I know, a business here, it's not HVAC, but they have jujitsu mats and boxing things, in their break room where people can, go burn some energy. So
Oh yeah, and I've been
just
to companies that have a full gym.
mhm,
So if they're on their lunch break or anything like that, they could go hit the weights, like you said, a punching bag. I mean,
yeah.
all that stuff.
But, just bringing the attitude and the good atmosphere around. Like, you were really good at that. That's one thing I learned from you and admired. Like, you would try to go bring the energy. You'd bring, Starbucks and donuts and bagels and things like that to meetings where everyone would be like, "Oh, yeah, we didn't think to bring anything." And you'd, get cheers going and get everyone's attitude in the right place where you're excited to go to work,
Well,
when
and that's the thing about it is it all starts with attitude, right? So if you start your day like shit, you're gonna end your day like shit. Let's just be honest.
Mhm.
So
Or you're gonna
ev-
continue your day like
or
shit.
you're gonna continue your day like shit. But at the end of the day, everyone has their own perception on things, and everyone has their own attitudes, right? So it doesn't take a lot of effort, you guys. If you see someone having a bad day or a bad morning, to just cheer them up, give them a quick little compliment, you know, bring them, start a cheer for everyone, in the meeting. That's one thing that I was really big at is, getting everyone's, morale up in the meetings that I would run. Because when you're having a group of guys and gals wake up at 6 in the morning to do a meeting before the doors open, right? You got to bring the energy. You got to wake them up. You got to show them that you're excited for them to be there that day, that you
Yeah.
truly, I mean, because it takes a lot of effort for someone who's not a business owner, not a manager, and not in a leadership role to wake up and roll out of bed and wake up and be somewhere at 6 a.m., knowing that
Mhm.
they have to do an install, knowing that they have to do, multiple sales appointments, knowing that they have to do multiple service calls, right? So just showing that your employees, that you care about them and what they're doing, and make those meetings fun.
Yeah. And there was a few times when I was an installer, you were in sales, where we'd show up to the office where they're doing big meetings and boring, those insurance meetings that everyone hates, and
Uh,
those let's report
Aflac.
the monthly numbers and things like that. So meetings that a lot of people don't care about, but they're necessary.
Oh, but I'll
You
tell
know,
you, you could make numbers meetings fun. I mean, I do.
exactly.
You can make it, where you could have, games
Yeah.
up there with them, and they're going through the numbers. You make it awards, you give them stuff.
We worked for a guy, they do this big meeting around Christmas time, and the company would give us all a gift, which was awesome. They'd usually have a pretty cool gift. And they just get like 10 turkeys and just throw them out to people, like, just random, but they'd like
Yeah, and
actually
catch them.
chuck a frozen turkey at you, and
20
you'd have to
pound
dodge
turkey.
that thing. Yeah. Oh man, it was pretty fun though, but everyone would get laughing and dodging turkeys and things like that. But it brought the morale in there, and got people moving around and laughing and joking in the morning, instead of pissed off about what kind of job they have today, or what kind of calls, or how late they're going to be off, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and another good thing is something that I always appreciated was the big morning breakfasts, right?
yeah.
Not having them catered,
Hmm.
having the management and owners
Cook
actually
them.
prepare and cook the food for you guys in the morning. I
Yeah.
mean, that's something that
That
I
means a
always really
lot.
saw value, because I'd be like, man, instead of them just paying for a catering company, they're actually back there cooking us breakfast and everything. And I always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It always was cool, because you can see that they actually really care about you. And even as like owners, one of the things is, like, you can't hang out like in your office, especially when the install guys are getting ready and things like that. You can't just hide out in your office the whole time. You got to kind of know what kind of spirits they're in. You want to see
Mhm.
your team, and if somebody's looking down or like pissed off, you got to go, try to cheer them up, and not feel like you're just standing over the guys, making sure they're loading their truck correctly, and not like a dictator role, but you want to hear what kind of day they're having, or see what kind of mood they're in. So maybe you can change that or do something to help them turn that around.
Yeah, no, you're right. And let me throw out some of your numbers because I was Dave's sales manager for a couple years, and I mean, this guy, when he was working with me, he was closing at 62% on marketed calls, about 68% on tech turnovers. Average ticket was about 16.5 at the time. I mean, and he was throwing these numbers up just running my process, what he learned from my process, right?
Yeah.
So, Dave, can you talk about some of the takeaways of being mentored by myself the last couple years?
I still do them all. You have to be successful with it. If you try to pick and choose what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, it's not going to work. Um, I have a calendar that I carry. It sits in my passenger seat every single day.
Oh, I
I
wrote it on you about that.
I write all my calls in the calendar. So if I get called on something, I know the status of it. I have a phone number for the person I can access right away.
So you're telling me
Um,
you track your own stuff?
you have to.
You
You
have to,
have to.
right?
I
Because
If you don't, like, I don't know what in the world you're doing. You don't know what you're getting paid. You don't know what your closing rate is. You don't know anything.
or
So,
you rely on the company to do all that for you, that's horrible. As a
or
professional, you should always track your own stuff.
yeah, and I've even, sometimes, like, it's hard. Like, I even my worst habit is, like, when it slows down a little bit, I get bad at tracking everything, but you still gotta stick to it. I'm pretty religious about it. There's times where I gotta update it where I'm like a week behind, but I try not to get more than that. It really affects me, but you know, I I have to stick to it. It's very, very important. And the easiest way to do it is the way you do it is pull over right away. The worst time I don't do that is on my last call of the day because I want to get home. But it's always that one that I always forget on. But even then I need to be more religious about pulling over, tracking it just the way that you taught me, and sticking to that because it's very,
Well,
very
I'll tell you
important.
this, if you wore that 100% pin, I guarantee you would, pull over and, do it right away on your
I
last call.
Hey, when it's Friday, it's hard for me to do that pullover, but I definitely need to be more religious about that because you got to update your notes, and depending on how your company works, sometimes you got to call in, sometimes you do your own service tighten on your iPad, or whichever program your company uses. So you have to do that anyways. You might as well do it in your own notebook. So that's what
Yeah,
I say.
absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
important.
And,
Um,
no, go ahead.
oh, sorry. So, another process that you taught me is just staying organized, making sure you always have copies of everything.
Great tips.
I've never ran like empty on a proposal. I always have proposals ready. I got a digital one on my phone if I need to, as a very last resort, sign everything digitally.
Mhm.
But I always have proposals, always have everything that I need, copies of everything, third party
And
articles.
I just wanna stop you real quick because every time I set up a comfort advisor or I hired a comfort advisor, I would set them up from day one, success, all the paperwork, everything needs to be organized. And I would go out of my way to bring them to Staples or Office Depot. And I would buy their organizer because I wanted to truly help them with their success. So I actually, I actually have an organizer right here. So this is all right here, you guys. I would buy this for my guys every single time, and I would sit there on day one and I would organize their whole entire organizer from proposals, financing paperwork, whatever that they needed, right? Was going to be in there. And I told them every time you get down to your last five, you need to make copies, and you always have to have a master copy, right?
Put like a
So
Post-it note on there, always
yeah,
helps me.
exactly. Put in a post-it note. So always, I want to talk to my sales managers right now. If you guys are just bringing in comfort advisors and not working on them and asking yourself, why are these guys closing at 20%, 15%, 30%?
Mhm.
Maybe you got to look at something that you guys are truly doing. Are you guys running sales meetings with them? Are you working with them? Are you doing ride alongs with them? What are you doing to help your guys be successful, right? Do they know your financing? That's huge. My
Yeah.
first year, I lost out on a lot of money because of I didn't know financing, right?
Yeah.
I was giving everything away 5 years, 0%, thinking that that's the only way I could sell anything,
Yeah.
right? But at the end of the day, it was because the lack of the knowledge that I was getting, I wasn't learning that the finance was killing me, right? So
Yeah.
as I'm progressing and as I ended up getting into or having a better leader step up and kind of teach me and show me the ropes of, hey, Jason, let's go ahead and work smarter, not harder, right?
Mhm.
You sold 2 million and made 120,000 off of it. Let's get you selling 2 million and making 200,000,
Yeah.
right? And doing the same amount of work, brother.
Mhm. And especially for a new guy that's never been in sales or a comfort advisor or anything like that, like, understanding financing is huge to learn, and you have to work with your guys on how to build different financing for different plans and kinda direct them where it's going to be the best option for them. And
Yeah.
you want to really make sure that they understand the different caveats of financing and make sure they know how to relay that to their clients, which brings up a good point. I for people out there in California and different states that use PACE financing, that's no longer a thing. Y Green is only offering conventional financing now. Renovate America only conventional financing, and who I blame is the solar and the comfort advisors and all the people that were misleading PACE just because they didn't understand it correctly.
Like, yep.
So
Yep.
so I mean, it wasn't necessarily that they were trying to be deceitful. Some, I'm sure a lot where there's lawsuits and things
I
like
just
that
think it
going
was just
on.
lack of education.
But yeah, that's the reality. A lot of people just didn't understand how to explain it correctly and portray it the correct way, which
Mhm.
got them in a lot of trouble. And that's why PACE is pretty much no longer a thing.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. And moving forward as a little bit more, Dave, what do you think has been the biggest struggle for you as a comfort advisor?
Biggest struggle? That's a good question.
Put you on the
I've
spot.
never really thought about that. The biggest struggle for me is to I guess it would be more of a mental aspect for me. Like, there's been times throughout my career where I doubted myself, which is the first no. Like, I mean, especially when I first started, like, there was a lot of times where I was like, this shit's not for me, but I stuck with it and I kept through it. But I would say, I mean, staying out of your own head, especially as a young comfort advisor.
Mhm.
As you get more experience, the same thing, staying out of your own head like you know it all. You can always learn things, you can always adapt things. I would say if you have a process that works, stick to that, and there's always little tweaks you can bend in here and there to make it better. But never have a closed mind. You can always learn, you can always develop, you can always get better at what you're doing. Um, and work with others. Like, a lot of people, need training and need a little bit of extra help. So not being a closed-minded asshole and like, hey, nah, they just don't know what they're doing. Actually working with them and saying, hey, do you have some questions, or is there anything I could help you improve on? That's an
Mhm.
easy question to ask. Is there anything I could help you improve on?
Yeah, no,
um
absolutely.
and if they respect you, they'll be honest. They'll let you know, "Hey, I kinda struggle with taking calls and scheduling them, the correct way," or whatever it is. Just
Yeah.
be approachable.
So, last time I had you on the podcast, we talked about some horror stories, right?
Mhm.
So, between the last time we talked, which was about a year and a half ago, is episode one, have
Mhm.
you ran into any more horror stories?
Oh, I'm sure I have. Yeah.
What's one that sticks out?
Um, Let me think. Something pretty recent happened where oh, you're putting me on the spot again. I'm having a hard time thinking. I did have a pretty bad house pretty recently, where I was like, I just
Just a
wanna
hoarder
get
house?
y dude, I don't even think it was that. It was just like it was in a bad neighborhood. I thought my truck was gonna get broken into while I was there in the middle of, like, a rough neighborhood in Stockton. The guy brought a table out to the front lawn to have a sit and talk
Did you close
initially.
them?
Yeah, unfinanceable, whatever.
So,
Didn't
sold them but
qualify.
couldn't get financed.
Yeah, didn't qualify for any of our financing, plans. So,
Okay. So
um,
talking about a little bit keeping your mindset right, right? That's what you were just talking about. Now, what's a good way for a comfort advisor to continue their mindset when they run into consecutive failed financing, maybe in a month, right?
you just gotta brush them off, like,
Short
you
term memory.
well, and here's the deal, if you track your calls like we do in your calendar, you count them as a sold call, you circle them like you sold it because you did sell it, you got ink on paper, you tried everything you
Just
could.
doesn't go towards your revenue or your
Yep,
paycheck.
exactly, but you just, don't think of it like you're not getting paid or anything like that, you gotta keep that out of your head, but keep it circled in your calendar as you close the deal. You had everything worked out. And I'm sure if you had a financing that worked for him, then it would have been a great call and a great job, and they would have been very thrilled with the results. But just stay out of your head on it. Don't let it get to you. There's going to be a few that happen. There's a time where I ran into like 4 or 5 in a row, and it was driving me
That
insane.
gets rough, man.
Oh, it was driving me insane, but, I mean, you get through it, and once you close one that goes through, you're real, real happy.
Yeah.
So
So talking a little bit about post closing real quick,
Mhm,
because we're in shoulder season right now, and this is where people are going to start getting in their head, right?
mhm,
So a lot of people are going to start getting cancellations and things like that right now, just because
mhm,
they're going to start shopping around. This is just what
absolutely.
it is right now during shoulder season. What I think is a very strong thing to do right after you do the proposal, right after you get ink on paper, right after you get the homeowner involved, right? Is
Mhm,
you have to have them write down 3 reasons why they moved forward with you today.
mhm,
You have to write that stuff down
mhm,
because if they end up wanting to cancel, right? Dispatch should tell them that they have to contact you as a comfort advisor to be able to cancel the call. But
mhm.
then when you reach out to them, you bring them back to when you were out there, right? Hey, Bob and Betty, do you remember before I left the 3 reasons why you ended up moving forward with me? Oh,
Yeah,
well, no, Jason, I don't really remember. Oh, well, I have them written down right here. Let me go ahead and refresh your memory.
yeah,
Has anything changed within the last 2 days? Please help me understand,
mhm,
right? You still trust me to do the project. You still trust our company and you still trust the price. I mean, at the end of the day, Bob and Bay, those are the 3 things that a homeowner is going to look at. Either you make a decision today or 2 or 3 weeks, and all those are yeses. Am I correct?
yeah, and
So
and
why would you cancel the project?
well, and the key to that, Jay, is you have to make sure that, like, after you've done all the paperwork, you've done all the financing, you got them an install date, everything's a lock, everything's good. You're talking to them, setting the expectation. Hey, our guys are going to arrive between 8 and 9, and this and that, and blah blah blah. We're going to call you the day before to confirm the install time, and whatever your company process is,
Yeah,
but close up the binder, close up the iPad, whatever your thing is, put everything away, clear the table, and just sit there and talk to them for a few minutes,
absolutely. Just
you
don't
know?
think of it as being a sell. Stay
Yeah.
there 10, 15 minutes
And and
after.
and that's why I like, putting everything away, closing the binder, closing the iPad, the gloves are off at that point. That's kinda how I look at it. The gloves are off, everything's away, we're friends at this point. Now I just wanna, you know, be your friend. Let's talk a little bit, you know? And a lot of times people will ask me, "Hey, do you want some food? Do you want some coffee? Can I get you anything to drink?" I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of friendship at that point, and then, you're talking to them and you're just building rapport and finding out, what's important to them and making sure that you can deliver on that. And it's very important just to kind of put everything away, take the gloves off, and get to know your client a little bit better on a personal level.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. For my listeners out there, kind of, as you guys are driving to your appointments right now, listening to this, kind of focus on what you've been doing with your clients, right? Have you guys been that guy that's been getting ink on paper and just getting up and leaving right away, right? Is that the reason why you're getting cancellations, right? Because once you leave, the homeowner might be like, man, he left pretty quick.
Mhm.
Was he just interested in the sell and that's it, not really building that rapport and that relationship with me?
Yeah.
So, I mean, just I'm not saying you have to be there for an hour or half hour, right?
Mhm.
Just spend 5, 10, 15 minutes. Just, hey, congratulations
Yeah.
on this new system, right? I like to crack a joke and I go, man, congratulations on this new system. And they always kind of look at me weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, congratulations? I'm like, I mean, at the end of the day, this is like almost the cost of a car, right? But you
Yeah.
can't bring your friends over and be like, man, check out this cherry red Corvette, right? Woo! Feel that engine purr? No, instead, you could bring them over, Bob and Betty, and be like, man, stand right here. Stand right here. All right, I'm gonna turn it on. Ooh, you feel that cold air?
Yeah.
Ooh, man, that thing's coming out at what temperature?
Hey, I'll tell you what, it's super important for people, especially to have their friends over and to be comfortable. Like, it's embarrassing when you have a house full of people and they're either all hot or all
And everyone's
super
like, it's
cold.
hot in
Yeah,
here.
complaining and things like that, dude, that's the worst thing ever. People get embarrassed, people get humiliated, I remember there was a time my parents years ago, we had a bunch of people over in the middle of July and our AC broke, and we were we were everyone's sweating, we got fans all over the house. It was horrible, horrible, no one wants to deal with that. So,
Ah,
like, sometimes, put yourself in their position, like, people wanna get it done. It's just a matter of they need the help, so
yeah,
help them out.
and asking for the order, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, I've said it multiple times on this podcast. It's crazy that someone will go through a full sales process and the homeowner hits them up with one objection
Mhm.
and they pack their stuff up and leave.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. They don't
pack
even
their
try to
stuff
get
up
through it.
and leave.
That's what's sad, they don't even try to get through the objection, they just I mean, it's just a one and done thing.
So I would say you've probably out of all comfort advisors and trainings I've ever done, I mean, Dave's my prodigy, I think, because this guy's probably wrote on probably, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of calls with me.
Yeah, a
During
lot of
slow
them.
season, he would drive from Stockton just to ride with me. That's how committed he was.
Yeah. I mean, and I learned a lot during those, like, that was one of the biggest things is you never stop asking for the business, you know? You stay in that batter's box, whether you change the subject or many of the other things that you do. I mean, you have a good way of sticking to it, sticking to your guns and sticking to your process. Um,
One thing
so
you have to do is go in there being confident, though.
yeah,
Confident in your delivery.
yeah, confidence goes a long ways when you're not confident, when you're not, like, eh, if you don't hold your shoulders up, going to a call, if you're coming in, you're slumped down, and I mean, that energy, that body language goes a long ways.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
you're confident in your process and you're gonna give them the best solution and help them out, then that confidence is gonna display. I feel like, especially over the past year or so, like I've felt like a huge confidence level, like especially everything that I've done in my career and the people I've worked with, and
Yeah.
I feel a good confidence level, and
Well,
and I think my clients can see that.
well, you're at a new company now, closer to home, so you're not traveling an hour and a half for work anymore, and you're loving what you're doing, and you're
Mhm.
actually more in a leadership role where you're actually the sales manager there, so you keep progressing in the industry as well. One thing that you said is you started in this industry making what, $13 an hour?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more. I think it was like 14 or 15 maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, you go a long ways. I mean, like I said, it's amazing the things that you learn as a comfort advisor. And then, you were the sales manager. So I got to spend a lot of time with you and hearing what you had to deal with on that role. So, it kind of gave me a different perspective on how to deal with things or how to approach things. And I can get kind of in my own mind and like, nah, that's the way I do this. But like seeing the different things and how sometimes you would adapt and you'd have to, say certain things to people to help them get through the day and the stuff that you would do, it really went a long ways. And it showed, at like the New Year's parties and the end of the year parties, all these installers are coming up like wanting to take pictures and hug you because like they have a certain respect, just because the way you approach things.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
so it's very important to know your team,
Mhm.
to help them achieve a level of success with you, not feeling like, they're scared to approach you or not, up to your level or standard.
Well, a quick thing, real quick, to know truly what your employees want, right? One thing that I'm a firm believer of, and I had all my sales guys and technicians make when I was a sales manager and office staff, is a goal board, vision board, right? I do that every single time. You guys got to make a vision board. So, as an employee or a business owner, or let's talk about business owners. I would highly, highly recommend on your next meeting this week, you bring everyone in and you supply them all with the board and you go over a meeting on how to create a vision board. And you give them a full week to all create a vision board and they hang it up all through the office in the training room. So when you do your weekly trainings, it's in front of them every day. They're at work every day, it's in front of them, right? And you help them achieve their yearly goal, their 3 year goal, and their 5 year goal, right? You push them to hit their goals. Maybe they don't want to run that late call, right? As a manager, as a good leader, you bring them back to what they want to achieve in their life, right? You get that beast out of them. You get their fire going.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it helps to see, and every time you go into the office, you see that board, and guys will even get competitive with it and be like, "Hey, did you get your Corvette yet?" Like, that guy's gonna feel like shit until he gets that Corvette. So it
Or
gives
he
him a
gets
little
the
drive to,
Corvette and throws the keys and say,
yeah,
"Yeah, I got my
yeah. You want to
Corvette."
take it around the parking lot?
You want to hear that
So
purr?
or you're like me and you go and test drive one and take a picture on the test drive and be like, "Yeah, what's up, son?"
You're funny. Well, anyways,
Nah.
Dave, I got listeners from business owners, technicians, installers, comfort advisors, dispatchers. What would you like for them to get out of this episode of HVAC Masters of the Hustle?
Stick to your process, know your team and your guys, and work with them to get better. Not everyone's gonna be on the same level. Everyone's gonna be on different levels, and it's very important to be able to be approachable and to be able to be understanding enough to work with them to help them become a better employee, better person, whatever role they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for being a guest on the podcast, brother. I love you to
Yeah,
death.
this was
This is
fun.
like my brother from another mother. We're cousins for all you guys that know. We've known each other for 33 years. But for all my listeners out there, I want to stop and say happy Halloween. Today's Halloween. We're doing this recording. And I just truly want to say, you guys, thank you literally from the bottom of my heart for all your guys' love, your support. When you guys hit me up, it truly means the world to me, letting me know how am I elevating you guys to the next level. So, by any means, you're listening to this podcast and it's truly, truly been helping you. Hit me up on any of my platforms, social media, anything like that. Also, my website should be dropping here within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So, once that's dropped, I will send you guys the link on that. You'll be able to order my swag, listen to all the podcast episodes, book your trainings on site or online. So, all that's in the making. Like I said, we're doing huge things with HVAC Masters of the Hustle. We are going to be the top podcast and training company in the HVAC industry. Just watch your boy J Dubs going to the top. HVAC masters of the hustle. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. Thank you.